Introduction. In this episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe welcomes U.S. President Donald Trump. As a businessman, media personality, and political figure, Trump has been at the center of major global discussions for decades. His presidency, policy decisions, and approach to leadership have been widely debated. In this conversation, he shares insights on his time in office, current political issues, and his views on the future of the country. Before diving into the discussion, it's important to mention Edward Snowden, a name that came up in the conversation. Snowden, a former NSA contractor, became famous for leaking classified information about government surveillance programs. His revelations sparked worldwide debates on privacy, security, and government transparency. Though he has been a polarizing figure, his impact on discussions about individual freedoms and state power remains significant. Detailed summary. The conversation begins with Trump reflecting on his presidency, addressing both achievements and controversies. He discusses key policies, including tax cuts, deregulation, and the reshaping of the Supreme Court. He emphasizes his administration's role in economic growth, highlighting job creation, stock market performance, and international trade deals. One of the main topics of discussion is the state of the U.S. economy and how it has evolved post-pandemic. Trump critiques current economic policies, particularly inflation and government spending, arguing that his administration had set up a strong foundation for economic recovery. He also shares his perspective on energy independence, advocating for domestic oil production and reduced reliance on foreign energy sources. Foreign policy takes center stage as Trump talks about global conflicts, U.S.-China relations, and the ongoing situation in Ukraine. He offers his take on diplomatic negotiations, sharing behind-the-scenes insights from his meetings with world leaders, including Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. Trump also revisits his administration's approach to North Korea, emphasizing his belief in direct engagement over prolonged conflicts. Another key moment in the episode is when Rogan presses Trump on media bias, social media censorship, and the role of big tech in politics. Trump recounts his experiences with major platforms, discussing the impact of social media bans and the growing influence of alternative media. He speaks about the rise of Truth Social and the broader debate over free speech in the digital age. The conversation shifts to Trump's views on government agencies, law enforcement, and institutional trust. He revisits past controversies, including the FBI's investigations into his administration, and raises concerns about what he sees as political weaponization of government institutions. He argues for increased transparency and accountability within the intelligence community. On domestic issues, Trump discusses immigration policies, the border crisis, and law enforcement. He maintains his stance on border security, advocating for stricter measures and stronger enforcement. Rogan challenges him on some of the complexities surrounding immigration, leading to a discussion on humanitarian concerns versus national security priorities. The episode also touches on Trump's potential 2024 presidential run. He shares his thoughts on the current political landscape, potential challengers, and his vision for the future of America. He speaks about lessons learned from his first term and how he would approach governance differently if given another opportunity. Recap and analysis. This episode is a deep dive into Donald Trump's political philosophy, experiences, and vision for the future. His unfiltered take on key national and international issues makes for a compelling discussion. Whether you agree with his viewpoints or not, this conversation provides valuable insight into the mindset of one of the most polarizing figures in modern politics. For those interested in government policy, media influence, and the shifting dynamics of global power, this episode is worth a listen. It raises important questions about leadership, free speech, and the challenges facing modern democracies. Call to action. If this discussion intrigued you, be sure to check out the full episode of The Joe Rogan Experience. Number 2, 219 with Donald Trump. There's much more detail in their conversation that couldn't be covered in this summary. Share this episode with anyone interested in politics, media, and global affairs. Stay informed, keep questioning, and continue the conversation.